I believed age just made me quiet, not weak. But when my son said he wanted to help, my silence was betrayed. Money does not just vanish, it needs a familiar hand to turn the key. I taught him to tie his shoes, but not how to cross the line between family and fraud. When the bank called asking if I truly authorized the transfer, I realized the thief had always had the key, and the day I took it all back, I was not the one left shaking. My name is Evelyn Hart. I am 62 years old, and for the last 9 years, I have been a widow. I live in Redwood Falls, Michigan, in the same split-level house where my husband Thomas and I raised our son. The winters here are long, but this spring felt particularly cold, reluctant to let go. I am not an invalid. I managed the books for North Lake Mutual as a records clerk for 34 years before I retired. I live on a modest pension, and the savings Thomas and I carefully put away. I am organized. I pay my bills on time, I balance my checkbook weekly, and I keep meticulous records in a wine-colored leather notebook. I have 2 separate accounts, my checking at Pioneer Community Bank, right downtown, and my long-term savings at the Lake and Prairie Credit Union. I have always handled my own money. My son, Liam, is 37. He is sharp, quick with a smile, and always involved in the next big thing. His current venture is something he calls fintech sales, a term that sounds impressive but seems to involve a lot of urgent phone calls and no steady paycheck. He has had a few projects fail in the past, and his wife, Brianna, recently moved out. They are separated, not yet divorced, but the silence from that front is heavy. There are no grandchildren, which is a quiet sorrow of its own. My house is usually silent, save for the hum of the refrigerator and the ticking of the mantel clock Thomas bought me. I like the quiet. My neighbors are friendly, but keep to themselves. I am independent. I am, perhaps, too quiet. So, it was a surprise when Liam's car, a leased sedan I did not recognize, pulled into my driveway on a Saturday morning. He came in carrying a box of pastries from the good bakery and wearing the smile he always used when he needed something. "Mum," he said, setting the box on the counter. "I've been worried about you." I poured him coffee. "Worried about what?" "Liam, the boiler is fine." "Not the boiler? Your finances? Your online security? There are so many scams targeting people your age. I want to help you digitize everything. Make it secure. Protect you from fraud." I hesitated. I did not like people touching my computer, and I trusted my notebook more than any cloud. But he mentioned Russian hackers and phishing schemes, and a small seed of doubt began to sprout. He was trying to be helpful, I told myself. He spent the next hour cleaning out the garage, sorting the recycling and breaking down boxes I had let pile up. He was being the son I missed. "See," he said, dusting off his hands. "Just want to help." We sat at the kitchen table, my old laptop open. "We should probably consolidate your accounts," he suggested casually, gesturing to my notebook, which I had foolishly left out. "It would be so much easier to track if it was all in one place." "No," I said, perhaps too quickly. "I like my banks. I like knowing where everything is. Separate." Okay, stubborn as ever." He laughed, but his eyes tightened just a fraction. "At least let me check your online banking settings. Make sure you have the right protections enabled." That seemed reasonable. A compromise. I watched as he navigated the Pioneer Community Bank website. He asked me for my password, which I kept, along with others. in an old envelope from the gas company tucked inside the back cover of my leather notebook. I watched him type it in. He clicked through settings, murmuring about firewalls and encryption. "You really should have a backup of your files." "Mom," he said, pulling a small, sleek USB drive from his pocket. "Here. I got this for you. We can save your important documents onto it, just in case." He plugged it into the side of my laptop. I just nodded, watching the small light on the drive begin to blink, feeling the warmth of the pastry in my stomach and the chill of his words settling in my bones. "You need a spending tracker." "Mom," Liam said, already downloading an application onto my phone. "And we absolutely must set up two-factor authentication. It is the standard now. It stops anyone who guesses your password." He was patient. I will give him that. He sat beside me, his finger tapping my screen, guiding me through the new login process. "The bank texts you a code. See you type in the code, and then you are in. Much safer." He took my wine-coloured notebook and, in his neat, rounded handwriting, wrote down the new instructions for me. Next. He turned to my laptop. He spent an hour cleaning out the junk, as he called it. "This email address you have had for 20 years, he said, shaking his head. "It is compromised. It is on all the dark web lists. We need to disable it for banking and create a new, secure recovery address, just for safety." He created one. He wrote that down in the notebook, too, right over my old login details. Then he printed a document. It came from the USB drive he had brought, and my printer groaned, the ink coming out slightly faded. But the Pioneer Community Bank logo was at the top, and it looked official. "This is just a technical support authorization," he explained, sliding it across the table with a pen. "It just lets the bank know I am allowed to ask questions about the system on your behalf. If we have to call tech support, they will talk to me instead of making you answer a million questions you do not understand." I read it. The text was small, It was full of jargon about digital access protocols and third-party verification. But the key phrase I saw was technical support. It did not say transfer. It did not say access funds. It said support. I signed it. Evelyn Hart. "Okay, let's test the system," he said brightly, turning back to my laptop. "We will move $200 from Lake and Prairie over to Pioneer, just to make sure the new authentication works and the accounts are linked properly." I watched him. He logged into the credit union website. My phone pinged with a 6-digit code. I read it aloud to him. He typed it in. He clicked a few buttons, and my Pioneer banking app, the one he had just installed, chimed. I opened it. There it was, a new deposit. $200. "See safe and sound." He smiled. I felt a wave of relief. He was right. I was being paranoid. This was complicated, and I did need his help. I made us dinner, my signature pot roast. We sat at the dining room table, not the kitchen counter, and for a little while, it felt like it used to. We talked about his father. Dad always said, "Do not borrow against your honor." "Liam?" I recalled softly. "He was a smart man," Liam said, suddenly very focused on his plate. "A very cautious man." Later that night, as he was packing his bag by the door, he adopted that casual tone again. "You know, Mom, since we have got your finances streamlined, I heard about an opportunity. It is municipal bonds. Absolutely no risk, high yield. They are funding a new bridge up in the UP. It is through a small Solid firm. Harbour Lane Capital. The name sounded solid, like old money and brick buildings. I do not know. Liam, I am not an investor. I am retired. It is not speculating. Mum, it is just smarter than letting your savings sit at 1% interest at the credit union. This is getting 8%. Guaranteed. 8%. That was a number that made you pay attention? I need time to think about it, I said, my voice stiffening. Of course, he said immediately, zipping his bag. He was respectful. Just an idea. You have got my notes? You have got the backup drive. He tapped the USB, which he left plugged into the side of the laptop. You are all set. He left just after 9. The house felt quiet again, but the air was buzzing. I was tired from all the new information. I went to shut down the laptop, not noticing the browser pop-up asking if I wanted to save the new password Liam had set while cleaning my system. I clicked yes without thinking. I put my phone on the charger, ignoring the last text message that had come through another 6-digit code from the bank. I assumed it was just the system finalizing its update. In my email inbox, an unread message sat waiting. The subject line read, "Congratulations on your authentication update." I marked it as read and turned out the light. It was 3 days later, a Tuesday. I was making my morning tea, my phone resting on the kitchen counter, when it chimed. It was not a text message. It was a push notification from the Pioneer Community Bank app Liam had insisted on installing. Pioneer Community Bank. A transaction of $15,000 has posted. I put the kettle down before it whistled. My hands were steady, but the silence in the kitchen suddenly felt heavy, like water pressure. I tapped the icon, my checking account, which should have held just over $16,000, now showed a balance of $1,245. Below it, a single line item, transfer to Harbour Lane Cap, escrow. My blood did not run hot, it ran cold. I did not rush to the laptop. I picked up my phone and dialed the bank's main number. I navigated the automated menu, my index finger pressing the numbers with deliberate force. Pioneer Community Bank. This is Marla. How can I help you? My name is Evelyn Hart, I said, my voice perfectly level. There is a transfer on my account for $15,000 that I did not make. I heard the sound of typing. Ma'am, I am showing that transfer. Yes. To Harbour Lane Capital. It looks valid. It was authorized electronically yesterday evening. That is impossible. I was in my home. I did not authorize anything. More typing. A pause. Mrs. Hart. We have a verbal authorization recorded for this transaction. The system flags large transfers for verification. A representative spoke with, yes. The system log shows Evelyn Hart. The caller confirmed the date of birth, social security number, and current address. The representative asked, "Do you authorize this transfer of $15,000? And the voice on the recording said, "Yes, I authorize." A voice. Not a signature. Not a password entry. A voice. That was not me. I said. Ma'am, it was a female voice, and it passed all security verifications. I want a copy of that recording. I can submit a request. Ma'am, but that retrieval process takes 7 to 10 business days. Do it, I ordered. And I want a receipt number for this dispute. I wrote the number down on the back of a utility bill. Who was the bank agent who took that call? The agent who processed the electronic transfer, the voice corrected me, was Marla J. You, a brief, sharp intake of breath on her end. I processed the electronic request based on the logged verbal verification. Yes, I will escalate this dispute immediately. I wrote her name down, Marla J. After I hung up, I walked to my laptop. My hands were shaking now, just slightly. I opened the website for the Lake and Prairie Credit Union, my savings, my nest egg. The balance was down by $5,800. The memo line read, "Transfer to Pioneer Bank, matching funds." He had drained my savings to fill my checking, only to drain the checking account. I went to the desk drawer and pulled out my wine-coloured leather notebook. I flipped to the back, to the old gas company envelope. My passwords, in my own familiar cursive, were still there. But they were crossed out, single, heavy black lines. Beside them, in Liam's neat, rounded script, were new, complex passwords, the ones he set, the ones the browser had saved. He had not just helped me, he had replaced me. I called him. My thumb hovered over his name. I pressed it. It went straight to voicemail. "Hi. You have reached Liam. I am with a client. Text me." I sent a text. "Liam, the bank shows $15,000 is gone. Call me immediately." A minute later, the 3 grey dots appeared, indicating he was typing. Then the reply, "In a big meeting. Mum? Cannot talk? It is the bond investment we discussed. It is fine. I am handling it for you. We will talk tonight. I am handling it for you." He was not denying it. He was managing it. That night, I did not sleep. I sat at the kitchen table in the dark. The house felt huge and cold. I looked at the laptop, still on the desk. The small, sleek USB drive Liam had gifted me was still plugged in. A tiny blue light on its end was blinking, a steady, slow pulse. On, off, on, off. It was active. It was thinking. My hand went to the power strip under the desk. I clicked the red button. The laptop screen went black. The blinking light on the USB drive died. I carefully worked the drive out of the port. It was warm to the touch. I did not throw it away. I did not plug it back in. I went to my desk, took a clean, white envelope, dropped the USB drive inside, and sealed the flap. I wrote that day's date on the front and put it in the drawer with my uncashed checks. I would not call him back. I would not scream. I would not cry. Screaming is for people who have the luxury of being heard. I had been a records clerk for 34 years. I knew about paper trails. I knew about documentation. He had used digital tools and a voice. I would use analog ones. I would not confront him. I would get my money back using paper, using procedure, and using the law. The next morning, I did not call the bank. I got dressed, put my wine-coloured notebook and the sealed envelope containing the USB drive into my purse, and drove to the Pioneer Community Bank branch downtown. It was 9:05 a.m. when I walked in. I did not ask for Marla J. I asked for the operations manager. They directed me to a cubicle where a woman looked up from her screen. "How can I help you?" "My name is Evelyn Hart," I said calmly. "I need a complete printout of my account's digital access log for the last 30 days. I also need a list of all devices, by name and type, that have accessed the account in that same period." She seemed surprised by the specificity. "That is an unusual request, Mrs. Hart. Is there a problem?" "There is a discrepancy I am investigating," I said. "Please print the logs." I stood and waited. It took her nearly 15 minutes. She returned with 3 sheets of paper, stapled together. I took them, sat in one of the lobby chairs, and read. My eyes scanned past my own familiar logins from my desktop. Then I found it. An entry from 2 nights prior. Time 2:13 a.m. Device iPhone 14. Device name LH. The IP address was not my home's. I did not recognize the string of numbers, but the log helpfully noted its location. Main Street Shared Workspace. LH. Liam Hart. I walked back to the cubicle. I see the unauthorized access, I said, pointing to the line. I want an immediate freeze placed on all outgoing transactions from my accounts, effective immediately. The woman her nameplate read, Cynthia, shook her head. I am sorry, Mrs. Hart, but I see the dispute note from yesterday. The transfer to Harbour Lane Capital was flagged as a valid investment. We cannot freeze an account for a legitimate transaction you authorized. I did not authorize it, I said. I leaned in slightly. I am formally disputing this transfer under the Electronic Fund Transfer Act, Regulation E. You have received my report of an unauthorized electronic transfer. You are required to investigate. Her posture changed. That was a term she recognized. I am also filing this, I said, pulling a folded piece of paper from my purse. I had typed it up last night. It was a formal, notarized affidavit stating I had not, by voice or any other means, authorized the transfer of $15,000. I demand that the voice recording you claim to possess be preserved as evidence. I want that noted in my file. Cynthia looked overwhelmed. You need to speak to the branch manager, Mr. Delaney. Mr. Delaney's office was glass-walled and tidy. He did not get up when I entered. Mrs. Hart. Cynthia tells me there is some confusion about your investment. There is no confusion. Mr. Delaney, there is theft. He gave me a practiced, sympathetic smile. Often in these situations, especially with new fintech platforms, family members are involved to assist. Are you sure your son, Liam, did not simply execute the investment you discussed? My blood pressure rose, but my voice stayed flat. Are you accusing me of filing a false fraud report? Or are you admitting your bank released $15,000 based on a conversation with someone who was not me? His smile faded. It is a family matter. Mrs. Hart. Perhaps you should discuss it with him before escalating this. This is a banking matter, Mr. Delaney. And Michigan has very clear policies on financial protection for seniors. I am citing those policies right now. I expect a full investigation, starting with the logs I just received and the affidavit I just filed. I also expect my provisional credit within 10 business days, as required by Regulation E. His face went blank. He knew I had read the rules. We will conduct our investigation, he said stiffly. I left his office and went directly to the Lake Prairie Credit Union, 2 blocks over. I sat with a new accounts manager, a kind woman in her 20s. I opened a new savings account, separate from my existing one. I transferred every remaining cent I had the small amount left at Pioneer, the remainder at Lake Prairie, into this new, buffered account. I set up multi-layered alerts. Any transaction, any login, any inquiry over $1 would send a text and an email. On the way home, I stopped at a discount store. I bought a cheap, prepaid smartphone, a burner. I activated it in the parking lot using my maiden name. I then went to the public library and used one of their computers to create a new, anonymous email address. This new phone and new email would be my command center, my old laptop and my old phone. They were now decoys, left on, waiting to be watched. When I got home, I saw my neighbor, Gloria, watering her pansies. Gloria is retired, and Gloria sees everything. "Gloria," I said, walking over. "You were up late Sunday night. Well, not you. I saw your television on." She looked sheepish. "Oh, goodness. Yes. I fell asleep during the late movie. Woke up around 2:30 a.m., I think. Did you happen to see my son, Liam, that night?" Her eyes lit up with the thrill of information. "I did. That is right. I saw his car, the new grey one. He pulled up right around then. Very late. I thought it was odd. He got out and walked up to your door with his laptop bag. He did not leave until almost 4. 2:13 a.m., the log file. Thank you, Gloria. That is very helpful." I went inside. The house was quiet. I took the faint, poorly printed, technical support authorization form Liam had me sign and carried it to my printer. I made 2 photocopies. I studied the signature. E. Heart. It was mine, but it was wrong. The E was too shaky, the T not fully crossed. It looked like a tracing. It looked like a forgery. I put the originals and the copies into a new envelope, sealed it, and placed it with the one containing the USB drive. The file was getting thicker. My first move was against Harbour Lane Capital. I did not use my home phone or my cell. I used the new, prepaid phone and dialed the toll-free number listed on the bank transfer. A polite voice routed me to a new accounts specialist. "Harbour Lane Capital," the voice chirped. "How may I help you?" "I am calling regarding a transfer made in the name of Evelyn Hart," I said. The sound of typing. "Ah, yes, Mrs. Hart. Welcome aboard. I see your file right here. We have you listed as an accredited investor, and we received your initial funding yesterday. Congratulations on the municipal bond acquisition." Accredited investor. A woman living on a pension and the savings of a 34-year career as a clerk. The lie was so blatant, it was almost insulting. "I did not make this investment," I said, keeping my voice flat. "I require a copy of the contract you are claiming I signed." "Of course. It was executed digitally. We have your email on file. And I am sending the executed PDF to you right now. Have a wonderful day." He hung up. I drove to the Redwood Falls Public Library, sat at a public terminal, and logged into the new, anonymous email address I had created. The email from Harbour Lane was waiting. I opened the attached PDF. It was a dense, 20-page document. I scrolled to the last page. There it was, Evelyn Hart, a clean, digital signature. Beside it was the timestamp 2:16 a.m. The night Gloria saw Liam at my house. I used the library's email system to reply. I attached nothing. I wrote, "To whom it may concern, I am in receipt of this fraudulent document. I did not execute this signature at 2:16 a.m. or any other time. I demand a full copy of the IP address log associated with this digital signature, as well as the digital certificate proving its authenticity. Be advised that I have an active Regulation E dispute open with Pioneer Community Bank regarding this unauthorized transfer. I am also filing a formal complaint with the Michigan Department of Banking and Financial Services regarding this matter, citing predatory practices and financial abuse of a senior." I hit send. The reply came in 12 minutes. The tone was no longer chirpy. Dear Mrs. Hart, we take these allegations very seriously. We are immediately placing a temporary administrative pause on the disbursement of these funds pending a full internal review. A compliance officer will be in touch shortly. They were scared. They had not moved the money yet. I had a window. My next step was to secure the confession. I drove home and, using my old, compromised cell phone, I sent a text message to Liam. Liam, the bank is making threats. They are talking about fraud because of the transfer. They are going to freeze everything. I do not understand what is happening. I need you to come over right now and help me explain this to them. I made myself sound old, confused, and terrified. He replied almost immediately, On my way, do not talk to them. I went to the kitchen. I took the new prepaid phone and started a new audio recording. I slipped it into the ceramic sugar bowl on the counter, facing the spot where he would stand. Michigan is a one-party consent state for recording conversations. I was that one party. He hurried in, not even taking his jacket off. He looked agitated. Mum, what did you do? Who did you talk to? I told you I was handling it. They called me. Liam. I lied. They said the authorization was suspicious. They said they have a recording of the call. But it does not sound right. He visibly relaxed. A small, patronizing smile touched his lips. Mom, it is fine. You did authorize it. Remember, I was sitting right here. The bank called for verification. You answered the security questions. And you said yes. You said, yes, I authorize. That is all that matters. You just forgot. My heart felt like it was freezing in my chest. They asked me security questions. Yes. Standard procedure. Oh, I said, trying to look puzzled. What did they ask? Did they ask me the name of the street I grew up on? He hesitated. Yeah, I think so. Maple Street. I grew up on Elmwood Avenue, I said softly. Did they ask me for my confirmation phrase, the one Thomas and I set up years ago? He started pacing. Mum, you are getting confused. The point is, you said yes. Now you have panicked and put a flag on the account. They are going to lock the funds. We have to move the money now before they freeze it. Move it where? I have a secure temporary wallet. It is an escrow service, completely offline. We can transfer everything into it, just for 48 hours, until this bank thing blows over. Then we move it back. It is the only way to protect it. He was trying to steal the rest. All of it. I widened my eyes. Oh, Liam, that sounds so complicated. A wallet, I am so tired. I cannot think about this right now. Mum, we have to do this now. Let me sleep on it, I said, my voice trembling just enough. Just let me think. Tomorrow. I promise. He left angry, convinced I was an idiot, but convinced I would comply. The moment his car was out of the driveway, I stopped the recording. I saved the file. I sat down at my desk and wrote a full, chronological report to the Michigan Department of Banking and Financial Services. I attached a picture of my notebook showing his handwriting. I attached the scanned copy of the blurry, forged technical authorization form, and I attached the audio file. My final call of the night, made on my new phone, was to a lawyer I found through the state's Elder Care Services database. Avery Kincaid, a sharp voice answered. Ms. Kincaid, my name is Evelyn Hart. I said, I need to retain your services. I am a victim of elder financial abuse. The perpetrator is my son, and I have the audio recording of his confession. Avery Kincaid did not waste time with sympathy. Her office was spare, her desk clean. She held the technical authorization form Liam had me sign, holding it up to the light. "This is garbage," she said, her voice crisp. "The logo is pixelated. It has been scanned from an old template, probably from before the 2016 merger. Pioneer has not used this internal form in at least 8 years." She dropped it on the desk. "It is enough to prove fraudulent inducement." She tapped the sealed envelope containing the USB drive. "My IT guy analyzed this an hour ago. It is worse than I thought. The second you plugged this in, it ran a script. It installed a password grabber that logged every keystroke you made, which is how he got into the credit union. But this is the clever part." She pointed to a line on her legal pad. "It also set up an invisible forwarding rule in your email client. Everything you send or receive, specifically anything from Pioneer or Lake and Prairie, is automatically forwarded to an external address. support@outlook.com. He has been reading your mail." I finally understood. The congratulations email I ignored. He had seen every alert, every confirmation. He knew I was alerted the moment the money moved. "Here is what we do," Avery said, leaning forward. "First, we stop the money. I am filing for an ex parte temporary restraining order right now, this afternoon, to freeze all assets in that Harbour Lane Capital escrow account. They were spooked by your Regulation E filing, so the money is likely still sitting there. This TRO ensures it does not move," she continued. "Second, my office is sending demand letters to both Pioneer Bank and Harbour Lane Capital. We are citing UDAP violations, unfair and deceptive acts and practices. We are alleging Pioneer's negligence under the state's elder protection statutes, referencing Mr. Delaney and accusing Harbour Lane of conspiracy to commit wire fraud. That will get their compliance department's full attention. Third," she said, a sharp glint in her eye, "we set the trap. You mentioned Liam wanted you to move the rest of your money to a safe wallet." "Yes," I said. He was frantic. "He is trapped between his partners and the bank freeze. He needs liquidity. So, we make him think you are the one who is panicking." Avery tapped my new, prepaid phone. "Using your new, secure email address, the one he cannot see, you will contact Harbour Lane Capital directly. You will tell them you have a medical emergency and you must liquidate the bond investment immediately, even if there is a penalty." While Avery filed the TRO, I did my own work. Avery had recommended a counselor at the county's Senior Services Centre, a woman who specialized in victims of financial abuse. I went. I sat in a small room that smelled like disinfectant and instant coffee. I did not cry. I just listened. The counselor taught me the language of the victim, not of the mother. "Do not engage in emotional arguments," the counselor advised. "Do not accuse. Just repeat the facts. The money was moved without my consent. The signature is not valid. This is the evidence. Let them break against the truth." I left the center and drove to the hardware store. I bought 3 new deadbolts. I installed them myself, my hands steady. I called my internet provider and changed my Y-example password to a 32-character nightmare. I went to the phone store and got a new SIM card for my old, compromised phone, effectively killing the old number Liam knew. I spoke to Gloria, my neighbor. "Gloria, I am having a legal issue with my son." I did not flinch when I said it. "He is not to be trusted. If you see him near my house, especially at night, do not approach him. Call me. And if you can," I added, Take a video with your phone. Gloria, sensing the gravity, just nodded. I will keep my porch light on. Evelyn. That evening, from the library, I logged into my new email account. I composed the message to the Harbour Lane compliance officer who had emailed me. The subject, urgent liquidation of account. E. Hart. The message was short. Due to a sudden medical diagnosis, I require the immediate liquidation of my investment. I understand there may be an early withdrawal penalty. Please process this immediately and advise on the fastest way to return the funds. I hit send. I watched the clock on the library wall. 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10. At 12 minutes. My new phone buzzed with the email notification. It was Harbour Lane. Dear Mrs. Hart, we are sorry to hear of your medical situation. We may be able to expedite this. However, to release the funds from the administrative pause, we require a signature on a new form, and there is the matter of the $4,000 early termination fee. A $4,000 fee. They were trying to squeeze blood from a stone, to take even more money just to return what was already mine. I forwarded the email to Avery Kincaid. Her reply was swift. They are grasping. They are trying to cover their tracks by creating a new, fraudulent paper trail. We are not paying them 1 cent. We are calling their bluff. Avery's response to Harbour Lane was a masterpiece of legal threat. She did not email them back. She sent a certified letter to their registered agent and copied Pioneer Bank's legal department. In it, she rejected their extortionate demand and proposed a formal meeting to resolve the disputed funds and discuss Pioneer Bank's liability. She scheduled it for 48 hours later in the main conference room of the downtown Pioneer branch. She insisted Mr. Delaney be present, and that a representative from Harbour Lane Capital with full authority to act must attend via video conference. The night before the meeting, I was sitting at my kitchen table, reviewing my timeline. My new prepaid phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. Stop this. You are going to ruin him. Don't pull your son down. He was just following Sage Rudd. My fingers went numb. Sage Rudd. The name was unfamiliar, but the message was clear. It was a warning, but it was also a new thread. I screenshotted the message and sent it to Avery. Avery, it turned out, did not sleep. By 5 a.m., my phone buzzed again. It was an email from her. Evelyn. I ran the name. Sage Rudd is a self-styled fintech consultant with a string of civil suits against him in Ohio and Illinois. His specialty, using falsified authorizations and voice-cloned commands to move funds from senior accounts into high-risk investment shells. He is exactly the kind of predator these statutes were written for. This is no longer just about Liam. Liam was the tool. Rudd is the operator. Avery had also been busy with the evidence. She had subpoenaed the bank for the original voice recording of the authorization. Her IT specialist, the same one who analyzed the USB, had worked on it all night. This was the first surprise. Avery called me as I was getting ready to leave for the bank. Evelyn, she said, her voice tight with anger. We have it. The female voice on the recording. It's not just like you. It is you. Or rather, it is a digital clone of you. My tech cross-referenced the audio spectrum with the old outgoing voicemail message from your compromised phone line. It is a perfect match. They used an AI to synthesize your voice saying, "Yes, I authorize." This is high-level, organized fraud. I arrived at the bank holding my evidence. Avery was already there, setting up a laptop at the head of a long, polished table. Mr. Delaney entered, his face pale and strained. He did not meet my eye. A large monitor on the wall flickered to life, showing a man in an expensive-looking office. The chyron read, Harbour Lane Capital. Legal. "Thank you all for coming," Avery began, her voice cutting through the heavy silence. "We are here to discuss the return of $20,800 transferred illegally from my client's accounts." The man on the screen adjusted his cuffs. "As we stated, Harbour Lane considers this a valid investment. Mrs. Hart's subsequent request for liquidation is subject to the standard $4,000 termination fee." "We will not be paying the fee," Avery interrupted, "because there is no investment, and you are not Harbour Lane Capital. You are a shell corporation for Mr. Sage Rudd." The man's smile froze. Mr. Delaney, beside me, flinched. "Just before this meeting," Avery continued, "I received a private message from one of your employees, Mr. Delaney, a bank agent named Marla J." Delaney looked as if he was going to be sick. "Marla states," Avery read from her phone, "that she received multiple system-generated risk alerts for this transfer, but that Mr. Delaney instructed her to manually bypass them, stating that the transaction was for a personal, high-value client of Liam Hart's. Marla is prepared to testify to that." Delaney sank in his chair. "And now we come to the authorization itself," Avery said. "The bank claims it has a verbal authorization from Mrs. Hart. We have that recording, and we have an expert analysis proving it is a fraudulent, AI-generated voice clone, created from data stolen from my client's phone. This was not a simple misunderstanding. This was a conspiracy." The man on the screen began to speak. "These are outrageous, unfounded." "Are they?" Avery said. "Because here is the third surprise. My IT specialist, in conjunction with the bank's own internal metadata, confirmed that the Harbour Lane CAP escrow account is not an external entity at all. It is an internal omnibus holding account right here at Pioneer. The money never even left your bank. Mr. Delaney, it is sitting in account number 904B. Mr. Rudd, it seems, was waiting to move it until the heat died down. He used your bank as a laundromat." The room was absolutely silent. The man on the monitor looked like he was about to disconnect the call. I had not spoken a single word. I reached into my purse. Slowly. I placed 4 items on the polished table. First, I put down the sealed envelope containing the password-stealing USB drive. Second, I put down the wine-coloured leather notebook, opened to the page where Liam had crossed out my passwords and written his own. Third, I put down the photocopied, blurry, technical authorization form. Finally, I placed the printed confirmation of my Regulation E fraud dispute directly in front of Mr. Delaney. I looked at him. I looked at the man on the screen. I did not raise my voice. I did not need to. The paper on the table did all the talking for me. We were early. Avery was already at the long, polished table in the conference room, plugging her laptop into the large monitor. I was arranging my 4 piles of evidence, my hands precise. The room was cold and smelled like industrial carpet cleaner. The door pushed open, hard, and Liam hurried in. He had not been invited to this pre-meeting, but he was here. He looked terrible. His eyes were red-rimmed, and his jacket was wrinkled, as if he had slept in it. He ignored Avery. His gaze locked on me, desperate and furious. "Mom, stop this. You have to stop this. Right now, he said, his voice a low hiss. You cannot do this to me. We can fix this. Just us. In the family. There is no us in this, Liam, I said. My voice was low, and it did not tremble. This is not a family discussion. This is a fraud hearing. It was not fraud, he insisted, stepping closer. It was an opportunity. This guy, Sage Rudd, he is brilliant. It was just temporary, to pool capital. I was going to put it all back, with high interest. A huge return for you. You were going to be so proud of me. You set up a forwarding rule on my email. It was a statement, not a question. He had the decency to flinch. Just to manage the alerts, just to handle the paperwork so you would not have to worry about it. It was for convenience. You used my voice, I said, the words dropping like stones into the silence. You stole my voice. You used my identity to lie. Sage said it was standard. He said it was just a digital authorization, that everyone does it. He was pleading now, his hands half raised. Mum, please. They are going to ruin me. Just sign this. He pulled a crumpled piece of paper from his pocket and flattened it on the table, pushing my evidence aside. It just withdraws the complaint. That is all. Just sign it. The money is frozen. If you sign this, Sage can release it, and it all goes back. It will be over in 5 minutes? Please. I looked at the paper. It was a retraction, a lie. I slid my new, prepaid phone from my purse. I pressed the record button, the screen lighting up, and placed it on the table between us. It was not hidden. It was an answer. No, I said. Liam stared at the phone, then at me, his face collapsing in disbelief. What? What is that? Are you recording me? I am documenting, I said. This is what happens now. After everything, he choked out. The word hung in the air, heavy with unspoken history. The memory of 5 years ago, the cryptocurrency disaster, the $30,000 margin call he could not meet, the tearful, frantic confession in my kitchen at 2 a.m, and me, quietly, taking out a home equity loan to pay it, telling him, never again, Liam, you have broken our trust. He had promised. That crack, which I had tried to patch over, had just split wide open. I taught you 3 things, I said, my voice as cold as the room. 3 things your father insisted on. Respect a signature, respect a boundary, and respect the truth. You have violated all 3. I pointed to the recorder. You are asking me to sign a lie to cover up your theft. It was not theft, he yelled. It was a loan. You cannot take a loan from someone who does not know they are giving it, I said. You are not a bad person by nature. Liam, I have always known that. But today, you are the one who chose to do this bad thing, and I will not help you do it. His anger evaporated, replaced by raw, childish panic. He looked at Avery, who was standing by the monitor, watching, silent as a hawk. He looked at me. He looked at the evidence. He was trapped. No, 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 he muttered, backing away. He pulled out his own phone, his thumbs fumbling with the screen. He said this would work. He promised me. He put the phone to his ear. Sage, Sage, pick up, she is here. She is at the bank with a lawyer. She will not sign the retraction. She is recording me. You have to fix this. You have to put the money back, right now, or we are both. Avery, who had been motionless, stepped forward. Her own phone was in her hand. Its camera focused on Liam's screen as he frantically gestured. She did not say a word. She just captured the number he was calling. The call to Sage Rudd. Liam did not even notice. He was too busy falling apart. The door opened. Mr. Delaney entered. But he was not alone. He was followed by a sharp-looking woman in a dark grey suit. She did not look at me. She sat at the opposite end of the table and opened a briefcase. "I am Sandra Chen, Regional Compliance Officer for Pioneer," she announced to the room. Liam, who had crumpled into a chair in the corner after his phone call, looked up, his face ashen. On the large monitor, the man from Harbour Lane Capital was back. But this time, he was flanked by another man, older, with cold eyes. Sage Rudd. He did not speak, but he was watching. "This meeting is now on the record," Avery began, her voice filling the room. She clicked a button, and the monitor split. On one side, Sage Rudd's scowling face. On the other, a series of documents. "Exhibit A," Avery said. The bank's own access logs, showing a login from an unauthorized device, an iPhone 14 named LH, at 2:13 a.m. from an IP address at the Main Street shared workspace. She clicked. "Exhibit B, a forensic analysis of this USB drive, provided to my client by Mr. Hart, containing a keystroke logger and a password-stealing script." She clicked again. "Exhibit C, a spectral analysis comparison." 2 audio wave graphs appeared. On the left, my client's standard voicemail greeting. On the right, the bank's recording of "Yes, I authorize." As the expert report confirms, the timbre, pitch, and vocal fry are a perfect match. It is an artificial intelligence voice clone. Sage Rudd leaned forward, whispering to his lawyer. The compliance officer, Ms. Chen, was taking meticulous notes. Delaney just stared at the table. "My client," Avery continued, her voice sharp, "filed her Regulation E dispute within 48 hours of the fraudulent transfer. As you know, Ms. Chen. That means Pioneer Bank is required to provide provisional credit for the full amount, $20,800, within 10 business days pending this investigation. We are aware of our obligations under Regulation E," Ms. Chen said. Her voice clipped. "However, the bank's initial finding was that this was a family matter, not an unauthorized." "Was it?" Avery cut her off. "Exhibit D." An email appeared on the screen. It was from Marla J. to Mr. Delaney. The subject, urgent. Risk flag 904B. Avery read it aloud. "Mr. Delaney? The system has hard-locked this transfer to Harbour Lane. It has 3 high-risk flags, new account, senior client, and maximum transfer limit. I cannot bypass this without your override code. Please advise." A second email appeared, Delaney's reply. It read, "Bypass authorized. This is a personal client of Liam Hart's, a new high-value investor. It is fine." "But my favorite part," Avery said, "is Marla's private message to my office, received this morning. Exhibit E. She states that Sage Rudd had personally promised you, Mr. Delaney, a 2% referral commission on any new funds you directed to Harbour Lane." Delaney made a small, strangled sound. Ms. Chen turned her head and stared at him, her expression turning to ice. This is unsubstantiated." The lawyer on the screen stammered. "Mr. Rudd has no such arrangement." "Does he not?" Avery said. "Then let us discuss the secure wallet, Liam Hart, acting as your agent. attempted to have my client move her remaining funds into. My forensics team traced the destination address. A long string of letters and numbers filled the screen. It is the exact same receiving wallet address cited in the civil fraud complaint Rudd v. State of Ohio from 2 years ago. You did not even bother to get a new wallet. The man on the screen went silent. Sage Rudd stood up and walked out of the camera's view. All eyes turned to me. I had not moved. I spoke for the first time, my voice clear and cold, directed at Ms. Chen. I want 3 things. 1. An immediate freeze on all outgoing transactions from any account associated with my name, and the immediate revocation of any and all authorizations, digital or paper. 2. The immediate provisional credit of $20,800, as required by federal law. 3. A full internal investigation of Mr. Delaney and his relationship with Harbor Lane Capital. Ms. Chen did not hesitate. Mrs. Hart, on behalf of Pioneer Bank. You have them. We will credit your account by end of day. Mr. Delaney's access is suspended pending a full investigation. We will cooperate in every way. Delaney's face was white. From the corner, a broken voice. Mom? Liam stood up, swaying slightly. Mom, please. You don't want me to go to jail, do you? I looked at my son. I saw the man he was, and the boy he had been. I felt nothing but a cold, hard clarity. I want the truth, I said, my voice steady, and I want it recorded in ink, not in tears. The meeting was the pivot. The consequences were immediate. The county court granted Avery's temporary restraining order within hours, officially freezing the holding account Sage Rudd thought was invisible. Faced with the evidence of the AI voice clone and the UDAP violations, Harbor Lane Capital did not fight. They capitulated. They were forced to return the full amount. Pioneer Bank, under the terrified supervision of Ms. Chen, immediately issued the provisional credit for the full $20,800. The money was back in my new, secure account before the day was out. Avery Kincaid was not finished. She drafted a civil settlement. It was not for money. It was for armor. Pioneer Bank had to sign an admission of procedural negligence. Harbor Lane had to formally cancel the fraudulent contract, provide a full, unredacted log of all their internal communications regarding my account, and agree to a permanent injunction, banning them and Sage Rudd by name from ever contacting me again. They all signed. Then, there was Liam. Avery handled this separately. It was not a bank document. It was a promissory note, drafted by her, from me to my son. He met us in Avery's office 2 days later. He was required to repay every cent of my losses, including Avery's legal fees, in installments over 36 months. The note was ironclad. It stipulated that if he missed a single payment, or if I ever discovered another attempt at deception, the full, signed complaint for felony elder financial abuse would be filed with the district attorney's office. He sat at Avery's conference table. The pen was in his hand. He was staring at the last page of the agreement, his hand shaking so badly he could not form his name. I watched him. There was no anger left in me, just a vast, cold emptiness. I did not reach out. I did not scold him. I did not offer a word of comfort. I simply reached into my purse and pulled out the wine-coloured leather notebook. I placed it on the table in front of him, next to the legal document. This was the book I used to trust you, Liam, I said, my voice quiet. I kept my passwords in it. I kept your notes in it. He looked up. his eyes hollow. From now on, this is the book I use to remember this lesson. He winced, picked up the pen, and signed his name. The fallout at the bank was swift. Mr. Delaney was suspended indefinitely. A term I knew meant fired. Marla J., who had forwarded the crucial emails, was granted full whistleblower protection by the bank's compliance department. Avery handled the evidence. She placed the small USB drive into a formal evidence bag and sealed it. The local police, now involved due to the AI voice fraud, collected it from her office. I went home, but I did not rest. I spent the afternoon on the phone. I called the credit card companies. I called the utilities. I changed every PIN. I changed every security question, making the answers lies that only I knew. I had the bank set up verbal passwords that were not my name. I signed into my new, secure accounts and went line by line, ensuring that every authorization for family access or third-party support authorizations I had set up years ago when Thomas was sick were scrubbed. I erased Liam from my financial life, keystroke by keystroke. My last stop was back at Pioneer Bank. I needed to close the loop. I stood at the teller counter, the one I had used for 34 years. Ms. Chen, the compliance officer, came out personally to meet me. "Mrs. Hart," she said, her voice respectful. "We have transferred your remaining balance to the new account you specified. The funds are all available." She pushed a final closure form toward me. I picked up the pen, the one chained to the counter. I signed my name. Hart. The letters were clean, strong, and perfectly formed. I put the pen down. I turned and walked toward the heavy glass doors of the lobby. He was standing outside on the sidewalk, waiting. Liam. He must have seen my car. He looked like a stranger. As I pushed the door open, he stepped forward, his mouth half open, a desperate sound forming. "Mum." I stopped. I looked him dead in the eye. "There is no more help." "Liam," I said, "there is only the truth, and there is the repayment." I did not wait for an answer. I pushed the door open. The cold, bright Michigan sunlight hit my face, making me squint. The war was over. I had fought it with logs and laws and the truth, and I had won it right there, on the threshold of the bank that thought I was too old and too quiet to fight back. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I truly hope it connects with you. Please let me know where you are listening from in the comments below. I love hearing your thoughts and sharing this space with you. If this story moved you, please subscribe to Grandma's Family Diary, give the video a like, and support us further by hitting that hype button so this story can be heard by more people who need it.